broadcaster ng Pilipinas.
Tensions in the West Philippine Sea, China claims the Philippines committed to remove the vessel from Ayungin Shoal, but the government says otherwise. More political parties, including those that produce the country's past presidents, forge an alliance with the Marcos-Duterte tandem. This as the ruling PDP Laban Party clarifies there are no plans just yet for Senator Bongo to withdraw from the presidential race. And this former Philippine-based journalist just got lucky. She got a front row seat, literally, to a crosswalk performance at the Korean boy group BTS in Los Angeles. The government makes it clear there is no commitment to remove a rusty World War II vintage vessel from Ayungin Shoal in the West Philippine Sea. The Philippine Navy deliberately ran the BRP Sierra Madre aground in 1999 after China occupied the nearby Mischief Reef in 1995. The ship is the only thing that is keeping China from occupying the shoal. But Beijing claims the Philippines long agreed to pull the ship out. Tristan Odalo has more.
The Defense Department refutes China's claims that the Philippines commits to remove BRP Sierra Madre in Ayungin Shoal. In a statement, Defense Chief Delfin Lorenzana says that BRP Sierra Madre has been on Ayungin since 1999 and the government should have removed it if there is any commitment. Lorenzana insists that Ayungin Shoal is within the country's exclusive economic zone and continental shelf. The country also maintains sovereign rights in the area through the UNCLOS and the Arbitral Tribunal's 2016 ruling favoring the Philippines. The defense chief accuses China of trespassing. He also says the Chinese have no business in the West Philippine Sea. On Wednesday, the Chinese Foreign Ministry demanded that the Philippines honors its commitment and remove BRP Sierra Madre from Ayungin Shoal. Beijing added that the resupplying mission was only allowed due to, quote, a special arrangement and out of humanitarian considerations. In a forum on Thursday, Lorenzana maintains the country's position on Ayungin Shoal, while retired Supreme Court Senior Associate Justice Antonio Carpio says that China is bullying its Asian neighbors and emboldened by its Coast Guard law.
That China is bullying its smaller neighbors in the South China Sea. China's new Coast Guard law brings back the world to the turbulent era before the 1945 UN Charter, when the armed force or war was a legitimate means of acquiring territory or settling disputes between states.
The West Philippine Sea is our main concern. China remains aggressive in asserting its claims in the South China Sea, seriously challenging our interest in the area. I told the Chinese ambassador that no one can prevent us from doing what we have to do within the West Philippine Sea, where we have sovereign rights by international laws.
This is not the first time that Beijing talked about a certain commitment allegedly made by the Philippines. China also made the same remarks in 2014 but was disputed by the DFA. Tristan Odalo, CNN Philippines.
In a series of tweets, Foreign Affairs Secretary Teddy Locsin echoed President Duterte's remarks at the recent summit with China and other Southeast Asian nations, condemning Beijing's recent attack on Philippine boats and urging the Asian giant to exercise utmost self-restraint and adhere to international law. Lawmakers and aspirants strongly rejecting China's demand to remove the BRP Sierra Madre from Ayungin Shoal. Senator Grace Poe says China has no right to dictate what the Philippines can do within its waters. She describes Beijing's statement as another, quote, display of utter arrogance and aggression that we must not take sitting down. Re-electionist Senator Joel Villanueva also says trespassers have no right to issue an eviction order. Meanwhile, presidential aspirants believe the Philippines should not withdraw its outpost from Ayungin Shoal. Vice President Leni Robredo insists the shoal belongs to the country, and this fact is not debatable. Senator Ping Lacson wants the country to strengthen its presence in Ayungin Shoal, saying if elected president, he will order the refurbishing of the BRP Sierra Madre and send another ship there. Lacson also insists having a balance of power among other countries will best serve the interest of the Philippines.
Hindi naman ito subject to opinion kasi meron ng ruling. Meron ng ruling yung arbitral tribunal. Kaya nga lagi nating inuulit-ulit na kung covered na siya ng ruling ng arbitral tribunal, hindi naman tayo kailangan makipagdebate. Klaro na bahagi ito ng ating EEZ. At yung meron tayong sovereign rights over dito, dapat yung enjoyment ng resources doon ay exclusive para sa mga Pilipino.
Ang kailangan doon, ma-prevent natin yung war, pero kailangan merong balanse. Hindi yung isa lang yung nambubuli at yung maliit na bansa lagi nabubuli. So yun, nando tayo ngayon at yun ang aming direksyon na ipupursu. Kailan palakasin natin yung ating alliances through bilateral and multilateral agreements sa mga bansa na pwedeng, na may sariling interest din, ano?
Another aspirant, Manila Mayor Isko Moreno, says if he were commander-in-chief now, he would encourage all fishermen to go to the disputed waters and send Navy and Coast Guard ships to protect them. Well, after admitting that he may still withdraw from the presidential race, Senator Bongo issues a cryptic statement saying this may not be his time. Go explains he has been hesitating over the past few days after following the decision of President Duterte and the ruling PDP Laban party for him to seek the presidency. He also cites dirty politics but did not elaborate. The senator says he is committed to public service but adds, quote, "Sa ngayon, baka hindi ko pa po panahon," unquote. He hints at making a sacrifice for the sake of the president and their supporters. Earlier, Go said supporters, particularly in the Davao region, are torn between him and another candidate. Go had been saying he wanted Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte as his running mate, but the presidential daughter chose another aspirant, former Senator Bongbong Marcos. Go is running under the Federalismo ng Dugong Dakilang Samahan or PDDS, an ally of the PDP Laban. Leaders of both parties say it is normal for candidates to feel overwhelmed or entertain the thought of backing out. And Go, they say, was just being honest about it. They add there is no plan B for them at this point as they expressed full support for the senator. Four political parties backed by some of the biggest political clans form a so-called uni-team for the Marcos-Duterte tandem. Rex Media reports it includes parties that produced former presidents.
More political parties are now supporting the 2022 tandem of Bongbong Marcos and Sara Duterte. Among them, the Puwersa ng Masang Pilipino or PMP and the Davao Region-based Hugpong ng Pagbabago or HNP. They are joining Bongbong's Partido Federal ng Pilipinas or PFP and Sara's Lakas CMD party. The coalition is called the Uniteam Alliance. PMP is the party of former President Joseph Estrada and son Jinggoy, who is eyeing a Senate comeback next year.
Kaming tatlo po ay pawang mga anak ng presidente. Hindi na po talaga maalis sa aming kamalayan, sa aming dugo at sa aming mga puso ang makapaglingkod sa ating mahal na bayan.
Former Presidents Gloria Macapagal Arroyo and Fidel Ramos, meanwhile, are Lakas CMD stalwarts. Ramos founded Lakas CMD 6 years after leaving the Marcos regime at the height of the 1986 EDSA revolution that toppled the dictatorship. House Majority Leader Martin Romualdez says Ramos himself gave his blessing to support the tandem.
First step pa lang ito para maipagsasama-sama natin lahat ng mga tinatawag kong like-minded political forces. Ibig sabihin, dito kami sa administrasyon. This is the beginning of the process. Siguro, basta't maipatuloy natin yung prosesong yan, yung nakikita natin medyo magulo sa eleksyon, sa kampanya, sa politika, mag-stabilize din yan.
As your vice presidential candidate, I am proud of this agreement that powerfully illustrates leadership transcending throughout political colors. To PFP, Lakas CMD, PMP, and HNP, there is no turning back.
We have yet to clarify with Marcos what he meant when he said they are on the side of the administration. No less than President Duterte recently criticized Marcos, calling him a weak leader and a spoiled child. The Duterte administration is also backing Senator Bongo's presidential bid. For now, the tandem will be talking to more national and local political parties to gather more support. A significant and necessary step to sustain their momentum, with Bongbong leading the last SWS survey and Sara placing second in the VP race. But in a country where political alliances and memberships are fluid and sometimes fragile, can the Uniteam Coalition bring the much-needed actual votes for Marcos and Duterte come Election Day? Rex Remitio, CNN Philippines.
Manila Mayor Isko Moreno and his running mate, Dr. Willie Ong, test negative for illegal substances. The tandem voluntarily underwent the drug test at the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency headquarters this morning. This after President Duterte claimed that one presidential hopeful is using cocaine. Other presidential and vice presidential hopefuls earlier underwent drug tests, including the Lacson Soto tandem. Marcos and Sara Duterte also submitted their own negative drug test results to authorities yesterday. The first petition against Bongbong Marcos's presidential bid heads to pre-conference on Friday, where lawyers of the opposing sides will meet at a virtual hearing to discuss details of the case. The Commission on Elections Second Division will facilitate the proceedings, which the body expects to be brief. The division recently rejected the appeal of petitioners led by lawyer Theodore Te against the week-long extension given to Marcos to respond to the plea to cancel his certificate of candidacy. Te said it was not allowed under COMELEC rules, but in her order, Commissioner Socorro Inting says COMELEC can provide such relief in, quote, the interest of justice and speedy resolution of the case. Co-watchdog Contra Daya meanwhile cautions against providing special treatment to Marcos, something the COMELEC denies.
Kailangan maging fair, ano? So kailangan siguro sagutin niya ng COMELEC. Bakit ganoon? Matatawag na ba yung special treatment?
The second division saw that there was a need to resolve this issue rather than postpone it to a later date. There's no special treatment there, and in other cases, it has been done.
Marcos faces 4 petitions opposing his presidential bid. Meanwhile, the former senator seeks to declare his opponent, Tiburcio Marcos, as a nuisance candidate, saying his candidacy mocks the electoral process. All cases have yet to be resolved. Next on Newsnight, with a drop in COVID-19 cases, can the Philippines now say it has contained the virus? The Department of Health says not just yet. And a news anchor in Los Angeles gets an up-close view of K-pop sensation BTS in the most unexpected time and place. We'll be right back.
Oh, anyari sa'yo? Ba't nakasimangot ka? Alam ko na. Masakit ang katawan mo, ano? Sa sobrang trabaho? O di kaya masakit ang ulo sa sobrang stress? Break ka muna. Hinga ng malalim at imasahe ang ulo mo gamit ang Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Ako rin ganun eh. Kaya pag mataas ang tensyon sa trabaho, mag-Herbalaya break ka muna.
Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Amoy na kaaya-aya. Sa bawat pahid ay ginhawa.
This way cuts the usual 2-hour travel time from Buendia in Makati to Balintawak in Quezon City to just 15 to 20 minutes. As the longest elevated expressway in the country, it is helping decongest major thoroughfares, including EDSA. Skyway Stage 3 also links motorists coming from the South Luzon Expressway, or SLEX, to the North Luzon Expressway, or NLEX. It is also set to create new transport routes for buses and UV Express vans, so commuters will no longer only have to rely on the MRT and the LRT. In an industry first, Skyway Stage 3 also features double-decker stations that will provide enough space for vehicles in the densest parts of the metro. The project is also seen to enhance the economic interaction of Calabarzon, Mega Manila, and Central Luzon that contribute to over 60% of the country's GDP. Skyway Stage 3, an engineering marvel. Built by Filipinos, for Filipinos.
Welcome back to CNN Philippines. A day after recording an all-time low in daily COVID-19 infections, the country again reports less than 1,000 new cases. The Health Department logs 975 fresh cases today, bringing the nationwide tally to 2.83 million. Recoveries rise to 2.76 million, while the DOH records a total of 47,875 deaths, with 193 more patients dying of COVID-19. It is the 9th day in a row that daily fatalities have gone above 100. The positivity rate, meanwhile, is at 2.8%. The country has kept the figure below 5% for 13 straight days. If it is sustained until tomorrow, it means the Philippines has put COVID-19 under control, according to the World Health Organization. But for Health Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergeire, it is not yet time to declare the country has contained the coronavirus. Vergeire says the DOH is coordinating with the WHO to identify the process and factors for disease control. She also cites past cases where the country experienced surges after bringing down transmission.
Marami pang uncertain sa nangyayari sa atin. So kailangan natin ng longer period to assess and to evaluate what's happening. Kailangan din natin makonsidera meron pong iba't ibang settings at iba't ibang sitwasyon ang bawat regional area natin. So maaari na ang NCR, mataas na ang bakunahan dito, tapos ang ating community response has been intensified. But if we compare to other areas in the country, some of the areas in the country, mababa pa rin ang pagbabakuna. Nakikita pa rin natin na kailangan pa natin tulungan ng local governments nila for them to intensify their community response. At saka pangatlo, kailangan handa ang health system kapag nasabi natin na nakakapag-control tayo ng isang sakit. So, kailangan pang pag-aralan maigi, further studies, further evaluation, because a lot of things are very uncertain at this point.
Health Chief Francisco Duque earlier said he will ask the WHO if they can declare the containment of COVID-19 after 2 weeks of maintaining the positivity rate below 5%. The World Health Organization issues an appeal as more countries roll out COVID-19 vaccines for minors. The WHO says it is less urgent to immunize children and adolescents compared to health workers, the immunocompromised, and other adults. Experts explain this is because younger people tend to have milder disease unless they are in a group at risk of severe infection. Experts ask nations to attain a high coverage in the primary series vaccination of adults first, pointing out the current global inequality in vaccine access. The WHO also has another dire warning, this time with the devastating fourth COVID-19 wave across Europe last week. 60% of all reported cases and deaths globally were once again from Europe, but it could suffer another 700,000 fatalities by March, according to the WHO's forecast. The agency urges countries not to rely entirely on vaccines as rollouts have stalled in parts of the continent.
The sheer number of cases is translating to unsustainable pressure on health systems and exhausted health workers. In many countries and communities, we're concerned about a false sense of security that vaccines have ended the pandemic and that people who are vaccinated do not need to take any other precautions.
The WHO stresses the need for a vaccine plus approach, meaning people should still practice mask wearing, physical distancing, and washing of hands. The agency estimates over 160,000 deaths could be avoided in Europe if 95% of the population wore masks. Now, in the United States, despite appeals from the WHO, an expert is putting premium on boosters. That's as the country also sees a rise in infections and a possible new coronavirus wave. CNN's Britt Conway reports.
We're seeing an uptick of cases.
New COVID-19 cases have been on the rise for about a month, nearing an average of 100,000 a day over the past week. But does that mean this could be the start of a new wave?
You know, it is conceivable that that is going to be the case.
In part because of timing.
Cold weather, people going indoors, vaccination potency waning.
By December 17th, the CDC's latest ensemble forecast predicts thousands more will be hospitalized that day, between 4,100 up to more than 12,000. And by December 18th, it predicts the total number of deaths will hit between 794,000 and 822,000. Based on where the death toll stands now, that could mean between 20 and 48,000 more Americans will die from COVID-19 over the next 3 weeks.
But we can do something about it. We still have about 60 million people, adults in this country, who are eligible to be vaccinated, who've not gotten vaccinated.
So the vaccination push continues, along with the push for the fully vaccinated to get boosters. And one expert believes boosters could make the biggest difference.
Increasing the rate of protection for those who are already protected, but giving them that extra boost, I think that will have a shorter and quicker impact than getting the unvaccinated vaccinated.
I'm Britt Conway reporting.
In Russia, President Vladimir Putin tests an experimental COVID-19 nasal vaccine that is not yet in clinical trials. This is Putin's fourth shot in total, which he got just days after receiving his booster dose. Putin volunteered to test the nasal spray vaccine, saying he, quote, did not feel anything after immunization. But the developer, Gamaleya Center, admits the vaccine's efficacy is still being tested. Back here at home, a former presidential advisor, Michael Yang, files a petition before the Supreme Court seeking to nullify the arrest orders and lookout bulletin against him amid his alleged involvement in the government's supposed anomalous deals with Pharmaly. The petition argues the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee's arrest orders lack legal basis. It likewise says the Bureau of Immigration's lookout order against Yang was issued without any criminal charges filed in court. Yang's camp also wants the High Court to stop the Senate panel's inquiry into his records and properties, saying it is in clear violation of the businessman's rights to privacy.
What is happening now is that the Senate is now making it a spectacle. For whatever purpose, kayo na po mag-isip. Pero yung pong mga tinatanong na punit nila ay no longer in aid of legislation.
Senator Riza Ontiveros, for her part, vows the panel will not stop its investigation into the government's pandemic spending. She maintains the oversight powers of the upper chamber are well settled in law and jurisprudence. In other news, the long wait is over. Swedish home furnishing brand IKEA finally opens its biggest store in the world right here in the country. The store, located in the Mall of Asia complex in Pasay City, is 68,000 square meters big, which is the size of 150 basketball courts. They earlier opened their e-commerce site at ikea.ph. It is in this website that you can also book your visit to the store. The branch is only accepting a limited number of customers a day for now as a precaution against COVID-19. We'll take a quick break, and when we return, updates on the rest of the members of Blackpink after main dancer Lisa tested positive for COVID-19. And still on K-pop, an anchor in Los Angeles is lucky to be caught in traffic with an exciting K-idol sighting. Details when we return.
O, anyari sa'yo? Ba't nakasimangot ka? Alam ko na. Masakit ang katawan mo, ano? Sa sobrang trabaho? O di kaya masakit ang ulo sa sobrang stress? Break ka muna. Hinga ng malalim at imasahe ang ulo mo gamit ang Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Ako rin ganun eh. Kaya pag mataas ang tensyon sa trabaho, mag-Herbalaya break ka muna.
Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Amoy na kaaya-aya. Sa bawat pahid ay ginhawa.
Pa rin ang serbisyo para malinis ang kapaligiran. Serbisyong publiko para sa kaligtasan ng lahat.
Sa panahon ng krisis, ikaw, ako, magtulungan tayo. Saludo ako sa Pilipino.
Kabilang ba kayo sa mga Pilipino na nahihirapan sa mga transaksyon dahil wala o kulang ang mga valid IDs?
Huwag nang mag-alala dahil narito na po ang PhilSys, ang identification system ng bawat Pilipino.
Para sa Step 1 registration, pumunta lang sa register.philsys.gov.ph para makapag-register sa PhilSys online. Ito ang PhilSys, ID natin to.
Friends, try nito. Vet-approved Nutri-Chunks in lamb flavor. With active boost and prebiotics na pampalisto. Made with real lamb goodness. With essential nutrients to help keep them strong, healthy and happy. Listo, ganado sa Nutri.
Welcome back. Amid its issue involving pole vaulter EJ Obiena's finances, the Philippine Athletics Track and Field Association says there's no need for the Philippine Sports Commission to mediate. Speaking to CNN Philippine Sports Desk, PATAFA President Philip Wico insists that, quote, no one is fighting. He says they only want clarification on the report, claiming Obiena did not compensate his coach, Vitaly Petrov. Wico also says the governing body is only following its mandate to investigate the matter.
In aid of policymaking ito.
even in aid of legislation, ika nga ng mga mambabatas. So, gusto lang namin maliwanagan. Sabi ko, masama ba magtanong? After all, kami naman ang mananagot dyan. Hindi ba? Kami mananagot sa PSC, sa COA eh.
Obiena and Petrov have both denied the athlete failed to pay 85,000 euros or 4.8 million pesos in coaching fees to his Ukrainian mentor. In K-pop, after Wednesday's news of Blackpink member Lisa catching COVID-19, their agency assures fans that the rest of the group is free of the virus. K-pop idols Jennie, Jisoo, and Rosé tested negative under RT-PCR tests. YG Entertainment said in a statement. It added that Lisa is in very good condition with no symptoms, and it will continue cooperating with health authorities in their efforts to prevent the virus from spreading. Meanwhile, fans of another K-pop group might want to switch places or at least car seats with this KTLA anchor. Former Philippine-based journalist Cher Calvin got an up-close view of BTS performing Butter for James Corden's Crosswalk musical. Calvin said she was driving to a restaurant when, in perfect timing, she caught sight of the K-pop group. There, as you see on that video, this was followed by a live performance right in front of her car. That just happened, Swet and Ishera. Fans in Los Angeles still have a chance to see BTS perform live. The first of 4 in-person permission to dance on stage concerts is just 2 days away. And before we go, Filipino Marvel fans get an exclusive treat with Eternals hitting the big screen earlier than expected. The much-awaited adventure action film is set for an early limited release in select theaters in Mega Manila. Screening will run from 6 p.m. on November 29th until November 30th. Eternals features a team of superheroes who lived long before Iron Man, Captain America, and other Marvel icons. It's set to premiere nationwide on December 1st. Here's CNN's David Daniel with a look.
We have helped them progress and seen them accomplish wonders.
Eternals have nurtured humanity for 7,000 years.
We have never interfered until now.
Oscar-winning director Chloe Zhao went from indie films to the MCU.
I had to pitch for it, and we both have to look at each other and go, there's something about what you're offering we really want. And that's when I have the project.
Ajak, played by Salma Hayek, leads the team.
I had given up on the hope of Marvel noticing that I existed, and it was just amazing.
The diverse cast includes Lauren Ridloff as the MCU's first deaf superhero.
I love that my deafness is not seen as, a driving point to a story. It's just, it's just an asset.
And Kumail Nanjiani as its first South Asian superhero.
I wanted him to be the opposite of most of the opportunities that I'd gotten and most of the opportunities that brown men have gotten in Hollywood. So usually either we play terrorists, I wanted him to be full of joy, the opposite of that, or we're nerds and I wanted him to be cool, or we're weak and I wanted him to be strong. So I just sort of was like, what is something that I haven't gotten to do that we don't usually get to do? Let's be the opposite of all that.
Between the heroics, we see the friendships, which the cast formed off-screen as well, most of them.
I don't think I was
no friends on this movie.
Excuse me.
Apart from you, we became friends. We became friends.
Okay.
We've loved these people since the day we arrived. When you love something, you protect it.
In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
And that is it for now. It is 30 days before Christmas. Join me again on News.ph at 7 p.m. I'm Pia Ontiveros for Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines.
sa'yo? Ba't nakasimangot ka? Alam ko na. Masakit ang katawan mo, ano? Sa sobrang trabaho? O di kaya masakit ang ulo sa sobrang stress? Break ka muna. Hinga ng malalim at imasahe ang ulo mo gamit ang Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Ako rin ganun eh. Kaya pag mataas ang tensyon sa trabaho, mag-Herbalaya break ka muna.
Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Amoy na kaaya-aya.